You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Radio 1 listeners, thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show. It is Friday. We're so happy to be back here with you again this week, Friday, October the 4th. And we are glad to be here in the fall. And we are going to be talking to our guest tonight, Dr. Julianne Malvo. Is going to talk to us about politics and in particular our debate. And then in our second half, we're going to hear from Dr. Gail Nunlee-Bland. For those of you who may have type 2 diabetes, she's going to talk to you about success of having diabetes by eating and exercising, eating properly and exercising. And we're going to even talk about Ozempic, success and failures of Ozempic. But first, let's go to Dr. Julianne Malvo. I want to just say thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show here on Radio 1 Spirit 1340 WYCB for those who may be in other parts of the world. We're here every Friday at 6 p.m. Dr. Julianne Malvo is an economist. She is a Ph.D., President Emeritus at Bennett College. They named her School of Communications after her down there because she was such a great fundraiser. And she also has been a dean, and she's the president of Rainbow Push Excel, the youth department, and travels as a speaker all over the place. And we are delighted to hear her take on how the vice presidential debate turned out this week. Dr. Julianne.
Hey, Lyndia, how are you? I know we were both glued to the television,
exactly,
watching this debate. But you know, the good news, it was surprisingly simple.
Yes.
The way that J.D. Vance behaves in public often is as despicable as that of his running mate, Donald Trump. But in this conversation, there was a lot of cordiality. Both men acknowledged each other, looked at each other, often conceded a point or two. Don't let that niceness fool you. Don't let it fool you. J.D. Vance still, in many ways, lied, as his running mate does. But many are saying that he won the debate. I think they say he won because he was more self-possessed. He was more confident. Waltz was clearly nervous, and you could tell. He let a few things go that he should have let go. But at the end of the day, I would call it a draw. I would not say that J.D. Vance won. I would say that it was a draw. Both men had points. Both men were insistent on their points. But anyway, let's just talk about a few of the points. Well, again, like I said, J.D. Vance lied like a rug. He claimed, first, he blamed everything from housing prices to crime on immigrants. You know, that just makes no sense. What we know about crime is that immigrants commit fewer crimes than the overall population. But he said, you know, housing prices were going up because of immigrants. There were just too many immigrants. And he would do a massive deportation. He did not answer the question of how he would do it, but he said he would. He said first he would get rid of all the criminal immigrants. Well, that represents probably less than 10% of all the immigrants. He said we'd get rid of them, and then we would go on through it. So, you know, blaming everything on immigrants is an unfortunate way to frame the issue. But, of course, this is the same person who first lied and said that Haitian Americans or Haitian people were eating the dogs and cats. Then he got busted on it because the mayor of that town, Springfield, Ohio, and the governor both said, that's not happening. We don't have any complaints. Then he said, well, if I have to make up a story to get your attention, I'll do that. So this is called an avowed liar. But he blamed so many things on immigrants. He basically deflected the Waltz conversation about gun rights. He basically lied about abortion. He had an abortion page on his website before he became the vice presidential nominee, where he said he favored a federal ban on abortion. Now he says, oh, no, that's not what I said. Well, you know, and Walsh was not able to fact check him or to refute his points. Again, I think that he was very nervous, and that's unfortunate. But that's where we came from. Again, I would not say that Vance won the debate. I would say that it was a tie. It was a draw. Both of them brought their stuff. However, the last part of the debate, I have to tell you, was funny. Walsh asked Vance, did Donald Trump lose the election in 2020? And he could not answer the question.
No.
He kept going around and around the mulberry bush. Well, whether two sides of no. Donald Trump lost the election, and he would not acknowledge it. Well, let's understand. I don't know how important the vice presidential debates are. You know, you're looking at the top of the ticket, really. But but we know that in both cases, with Walsh and with Vance, the presidential candidates were watching. And so Vance knew he had to walk the tightrope. He wanted to appear that he had integrity, but at the same time, if he said that Trump didn't lose the election, what would Trump do? It was too late to kick him off the ticket, but he'd probably get him upside the head or something.
No way he could say it.
but he knows what's right. I think.
Yes.
I think he knows what's right. But in any case, I found it interesting. I found it absorbing. It did not. A lot of people were expecting fireworks. Neither man provided any fireworks, and I think that's a good thing. Both of them acknowledged each other, and they said, you know, grateful to be here. Thank you. I think it was very civil, and I think that was really important. Now, the other big news today was, of course, this morning, Iran essentially bombed, sent drones, everything over Israel. The United States knew it. Others knew it. So there was very little damage done, but it shook Israel up. There was some damage done, and the number of people who were killed was small, under 10, but it's still people who were killed. Netanyahu says that Iran will have to pay a price. So this is escalating. Yes, it is. This situation is really escalating, and nobody seems to be willing to step back. I'm going to spend some time in the next couple of days just looking at how they've ended these conflicts in the past. But I think that by and large, the world sides with Israel, and they pay no attention to the other people. I believe that Israel has a right to exist, but how much basically land have you stolen from Gaza? You know, how much land have you stolen from Palestinians? And at some point, people just aren't going to take it. But we're at a point, an inflection point right now. Lloyd Austin, our Secretary of Defense, and others have said, you know, time to tone it down. But how do you tone it down when you feel that you must retaliate? And that's what people feel, that they must retaliate. So this is a big issue. It's heating up. We're talking on Tuesday. Who knows what will be happening by the time we air on Friday? Because every day there seems to be a different development.
Yes.
Now, speaking of different developments, let's talk about Hurricane Helene. It's been so devastating, especially in North Carolina, but also Georgia, Tennessee. I was stunned because, you know, I spent some time in Greensboro, North Carolina, and Asheville is about a 2-hour drive. It's a cultural kind of mecca where you have arts and music festivals and all that good stuff. And I couldn't see how they had all that flooding that they had there, but the rain must have been very heavy. But in any case, Asheville is one of the places that's now off the grid. People don't have cell service. They don't have water. FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, has done a great job. I understand they've provided lots of water, over 600,000 meals. But there still are people who can't reach their families, can't get past some of these bridges that are toppled. And this is an interesting way to look at both climate change. Why is this happening? Well, I spoke to someone at Climate Change Action. which is a nonprofit that talks about climate change, and they said that the heat of the waters has changed.
Yes,
so
yes,
that
it
makes it makes it very different in terms of dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
But you have, and even this evening with the vice presidential conversation, you have climate change deniers. They don't believe it's climate change. Have you been outside? They don't believe that it's climate change. So billions are going to be spent trying to get some of these communities back on their feet, because in Asheville, what I'm looking at and seeing, there are bridges that are down, there are people who can't get from one side of the river to the other. One lady was on the news, and she talked about how she hadn't seen her children since all this had happened. The Red Cross and FEMA are doing a great job. Always with these things, great job is just not enough from any perspective. So we have to look at this, and we have to look at what the federal government role is in terms of these disasters.
Yes.
We expect, my friend from Climate Change Action said we should expect more extreme weather occurrences.
Yes, yes. We have to, yeah, because we know it's coming.
Yep, so hurricanes, tornadoes, all of this. And it's not just places that are close to water, as you can see with Asheville. It's also places that are interior. So basically, this is an issue that's not going to go away. Let me stop there, Lyndia, because I know I'm on my time. I'm sitting here.
Yes, it is 12. It just hit 12. Thank you so much, Dr. Julian. I appreciate you. All right, you can feel it. You wasn't looking at the clock. I was. All right.
All right. Well, I said, okay, I've gone on long enough. She's going to cut me off in a minute. So
all right.
Thank you. And listeners, lift up the people who have been affected by Hurricane Helene. Lift them up. And if you can, indeed, donate for them.
All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Dr. Julian. Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Now we're going to go to our commercial break, and when we return, we will talk to Dr. Gail Nunlee-Bland. Back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired." But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it. Be inspired.
All right. Well, we were talking to Dr. Gail Nunlee-Bland. She is from Howard University Hospital, Washington, D.C., practicing pediatrics, endocrinology, and she also takes care of adults. But we just asked her a question. She's talking now about type 2 diabetes. She shared some information about type 1, and she's going to talk to us in her own way about ways you can take care of yourself to not get amputations and to not have all these strokes. But I wanted to start by talking about women who have large babies. Is that just something that's out there, or is this true?
Well, definitely. If you have a baby or had a baby weighing 9 pounds or greater, then that's considered a very large baby. And generally, during pregnancy, you will get this special test. This is what we call a glucose tolerance test, and those last 3 months of your pregnancy to determine if your blood sugars are running too high. And if they are, then you are generally referred to a dietitian, someone who will help you to eat better and to lower your blood sugars. And in some instances, if it remains too high, if you can't control it with your diet, you generally will have to go on medication, and many times insulin is required during that last trimester of your pregnancy.
So,
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, I was going to ask, is that the same thing as gestational diabetes? Is
yes.
that what you're referring to? Okay.
Yes, that's gestational diabetes.
Okay.
And
now,
after the baby's born, then the blood sugars tend to return to normal.
Okay. And so, but are you also prone, if you're a mom that had a 13-pound baby like me or 10 pounds like my brother, are you then prone to more likely get it than other women?
Yes.
Okay.
And we say that 30% of women who have gestational diabetes after, delivering those large babies will go on to develop diabetes within 5 to 10 years. So you have a very high risk for developing type. But, again, I'd like to emphasize that it can be prevented. And what we have learned is that if you exercise at least 30 minutes, 5 days a week, cut back on your calories, and we recommend that you reduce your calories by 700 calories a day. I'm not talking about eating 700 calories a day, but if you were normally eating 3,000 calories a day and you cut it back to 2,300 calories a day, you can significantly reduce your chances of developing type 2 diabetes. So it's not inevitable. And, I just had a patient this week, and he just chalked it up. Well, it runs in my family. There's nothing I can do about it. And it's sort of a fatalistic idea that, yes, you can do something about it, and you can prevent it.
That's right. We know that for sure, because I did get it too, Dr. Bland. But I was able to turn that thing around in 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I get a little out of control, because of what I know, I bring it back. You can stop. You can stop and go back in the right direction.
Right. And I'd like to emphasize that it is a lifetime change, but it is doable, and it's for your health. And, we don't have to say, well, there's nothing I can do about it. And I just recently had a gentleman that came in, and he had that fatalistic idea that, it's going to be what it's going to be. I can't control it. But then, with the proper education, the medication, the exercise, he was so happy that his numbers had improved. His A1C had gone from 11 down to 7 in a matter of 3 months, just with those changes.
That is really remarkable. I even had a lady in our class say hers went down from 8.5 to I think she said 5 something. It was right. I mean, it's like I did good, but I didn't do as good as they did.
Yeah.
And I don't understand, because almost all I was eating, Dr. Bland, was salads.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not feel hungry. It's amazing how salads, raw nutrition, and eating right, it can sustain yourself and not have as many cravings.
Right, exactly. And when you stop eating a lot of the sugar, and if you try to go back to eating it, you find out, it's just too sweet. So you can definitely train and wean yourself off of many of those high-fat, high-sugar, high-salt foods.
Okay. I think one of the things is we probably never could get tired of saying that, and that is to make the listeners aware of what are some of the complications of diabetes if they're not following through on the programs that have been set for them, or at this point know that they should be doing better. What are some of the complications that come up as a result of not taking care of themselves?
Well, one is their eyes. You can have what we call retinopathy, and what happens is the high blood sugars affect the blood vessels in the eyes, and the blood vessels burst, and it leaves blood in the eyes, and that can lead to blindness. So it's extremely important to get your eyes checked on a regular basis by a trained eye doctor, and they can do things, too, that if they do see changes in your eyes related to diabetes, they can give certain medications, do injections. There may be laser treatment that they can do so that we can prevent the blindness. The other thing is nerve damage, and you can get a sense of that when you get the numbness and the tingling, and people complain of pain in their feet or in their hands. Again, that is the result of blood sugars being too high. They're coating the nerves. They're causing the irritation. And again, that can be prevented as well with controlling your diabetes. The other complication is the kidney damage. And again, those high blood sugars tend to clog up your kidneys, then they can't function anymore, and it gets to the point that you may end up on dialysis. And again, those are very preventable complications by keeping your blood sugars in control. And by control, and sometimes people don't know, well, what does it mean that my blood sugars are in control? Ideally, before you eat, we like for your blood sugars to be between 70 and 120. And then if you check your blood sugars 2 hours after you eat, it shouldn't be any higher than 180. And if you keep most of your blood sugars in that range, you can significantly reduce those complications like the eye, problems. The retinopathy is what we call it. The neuropathy, that's the nerve damage that we talk about. And the nephropathy, which is what we call the kidney damage. We can almost eliminate those by keeping your blood sugars under control.
Okay. And I'm sure there are there's a lot of information out there to help people with their diets and to help to prepare their meals, to give them something that's healthy and cuts down on their content of carbohydrates and some of the other things that contribute to their diabetes.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say, Dr. Bland, I have a friend in Detroit that her mom was the founder of our sorority, Gamma Phi Delta. Mm-hmm. Dr. Ponders, Phyllis Ponders, has been living with diabetes since she was in her 20s, and she is about 95 or 96 years old now. Her body is, not as stand up, not as straight as she used to be, but she's still here. It's amazing because I remember when I would go to Detroit to work for her college that her and her sister ran. She would go. She had a group that she would walk with, in Southfield at the mall on the inside, because it gets so cold in Detroit.
Right.
They had a walking group that would walk through the mall in the morning before the mall opened, because they had a place where they knew the door was open, because they had walkers that would walk through that mall. And when snow was too bad, she would still walk in her building because she had a condo apartment. She was so religious about it. And I just want to say to people, you can live to be old with type 2 diabetes. And am I right, Dr. Bland?
That's correct. That's correct. And what
you just got to put in the work.
Yes, indeed. And really, no medication can do as much as what you can do for yourself.
That's true.
I always say patients can out-eat every medication I give them, and they can under-exercise. So, medications are tools, but most of the work with diabetes management is with the individual.
Okay. All right. Well, great.
All right. We are back. I just want to give Dr. Bland a chance to give some closing comments. Maybe tell people how they can reach you if they want to come and let you be their doctor, Dr. Bland.
Okay. Well, thank you. And if you want to come to the Howard University Hospital Diabetes Treatment Center, the phone number is 202-865-3350, and we have dietitians here who can help you with your diet. We have diabetes educators who can help you with how to do your blood glucose monitoring and help sometimes with the stress that comes with diabetes. So they're there for you. We have doctors that specialize in diabetes. And, of course, myself, I'm available to see patients. So, again, the number is 202-865-3350. And we really want to see a healthy DC when it comes to diabetes, and we want to reduce those complications that are associated with it.
All right. Well, thank you for being our guest today, Dr. Bland.
All right. Thank you, as always. I enjoy being on your show.
All right. We enjoy having you. Well, that concludes our show. In memory of my mom, I hope that we're helping you out there, listeners in Radio Land, because there's so many people that were not aware that diabetes is not necessarily the end of your life. You can make changes. Next week, we conclude our show with one more guest, and she is a special guest indeed, and her name is Karen Dale. She is the president of AmeriHealth Caritas DC. She is going to be here to close out. She's also at RN, and you can also get a copy of this week's show.
All right. If you missed any portion of our show today or would like to share our information with friends or family, take a look at Lyndia's Facebook page, like our page, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Lyndia also writes a column in the Washington Informer newspaper, so pick up a copy of that. Any questions? Give us a call at 202-558-2107.
Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect, so be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So think on these things from the Lyndia Grant Show. I am your host, my co-host, Pat Kennedy.
And Lola. Say good day. Say good day. Say
good
goodbye.
Day.
There you
All
go.
right.
Very good.
We'll
Thank
see you next week. Thank you, Washington.
We're keeping our co-host, by the way, Lola. Very good job.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.